I'm Eva.
Hi, I'm Lisa.
And we are birthing a new Earth. We've just been on an amazing trip. We're just at the very end of it. We're both in Cusco, in Peru. And we just thought we'd do a video to talk about all the things that have been going on in the last 7 days, 6 days. So 7 days. And yeah, just how that relates to the things that are going on with the new Earth that's being birthed here now. Yeah. So let's talk about what's happened. So we're here with Tracy Holloway. It's a Stargate activation at Machu Picchu, which I suppose we kind of had an idea of what that was before we came. And now I've got a much clearer idea of what that means. And I suppose the effects of that won't really become apparent for years, maybe. But
who knows, could be sooner.
Could be sooner, we hope it's sooner, because it's such an amazing reality that we are living into, and it just feels really positive and awful that we have to still have the crap going on that's going on. But anyway, takeaways from this week.
Where to start?
Where to start? Yeah.
I don't know. It's just been an absolutely magical week. I mean, so much has happened. Every single day has been. You know, in life when you have those aha moments,
yeah,
and you have one like every now and then. It feels like it's been like that for the last 7 days, if not longer.
Yeah.
Some really big shifts for us individually and as a group. And I guess my understanding of of what's happened here in terms of birthing a new Earth is, with opening this Stargate at Machu Picchu, that all of the Stargates came into alignment. This was the last one. So it's almost like all the pipes are lined up.
Yeah.
And
plumbing's in place.
Plumbing's in place. It's all been welded and soldered properly, and you can now turn the tap on and get this flow of information, light, energy, however you wish to perceive it, or how you want to articulate it. But that's now switched on, and it can now just gush through. And we, as the conduits, as the acupuncture points, are then anchoring that energy into the earth. And I guess part of our journey has been making sure that us, as the acupuncture points, or the tubes, or the umbilical cords, we can call it, is clear of any debris. So I guess what we've been experiencing in the last week is that any leftover or any residual crap that's left in our pipes or umbilical cord, as as the conduit, is swept away, so we can just become that clear channel to anchor that energy which feeds the earth. Because that was something that Tracy said, which I really liked it when she said that, and I hadn't seen it that way before. I'd seen the acupuncture points, but I'd never really seen it then as that what's coming through is feeding Earth, Mother Earth, or Pachamama, as we've come to know this week. And that felt really special. That felt really nice. So I guess when that is coming through us, then the effect that's going to have in the world, and how that's going to ripple out to our loved ones, our communities, the bigger towns and cities where we live. I'm not entirely sure what that's going to look like, but I guess from an energetic level, I'm not even quite sure how that's going to flow, whether or not we have to be physically near them, or whether just being there will help it to flow.
Yeah. Well, it's just a simple being the change, isn't it? Because we're living the new Earth vibration and carrying that with us, and acting in that way, doing all those things that we know are in vibration with that new frequency. Then we're kind of the people that are going to lead that change, really, aren't we? And we've talked before about the kinds of things that we can be doing now that are in that vibration. So we just need to do. I feel like it's like just far more on focus, and just any of the residual things that you kind of feel a bit wishy-washy about that. Actually, no, those little things make a difference.
Yeah, and I guess as well for me it feels like it's our immediate change is us, so the lifestyle choices that we make.
Yeah, exactly.
And then our families, our your nearest and dearest, so I'm curious to see how that knock-on effect is going to be with my family. So I guess it's kind of like almost like I said, anchoring in those new things. So, for example, we were talking about recycling. Yeah. And some of the family members might get it, or some of them are not. Always when we go back now and it's a definite, this is what we're doing, this is the reasons why we're doing it. So I guess we'll be a lot more clear in our communication with ourselves and lifestyle choices in our family. Yeah. And then once we've anchored in those new ways of being, then that kind of resonates out, doesn't it? Yeah.
And like we were talking about, how we spend our money, whether it's on green energy or not, or not, and all those kinds of things, because one of we did ecstatic dance, didn't we, twice, and the first time we did it I had a real, I am Mother Earth,
Yeah.
And I kind of, I suppose, the typical Earth Mother, what you think of as an Earth Mother is quite a hippie kind of person who, is vegan and wears Birkenstocks, but that's not me, wear the Birkenstocks, but that's about it. But all the things that I've done, I suppose if you were to kind of categorise me, and probably you as well, we would be like, oh yeah, typical Earth Mothers.
But I think practical Earth Mothers.
Yeah, definitely, or definitely New Age Earth Mothers.
Or
really,
or cutting edge.
Yeah, cutting edge Earth Mothers. Yeah. And but then when in the dance, I just had the real connection as it changed from Earth Mother to Mother Earth. That is me, and actually, would I do those things to myself? Would I, cut holes in myself and poison myself and do that and allow that? And it's like the feeling that I got in that dance was, enough of that now. That's enough. We have fracked, we have dug holes, we have cut down the trees, we've done all of those things, humanity's done all those things, and the call's been out now, and the first wave of light workers has come, and now all these children are here and being birthed, and it's going to shift, which is fantastic, but it's like, enough is enough, none of that shit anymore.
Yeah. And I guess what's coming to mind now, about we've talked in the last week about, the new earth and the star children that are coming through, and about having a space to receive them.
Yes, yeah.
And it was just something that we've talked a lot about. We've talked a lot about how, as individuals, as mothers, how we create that space to receive them and hold them in their fullness. Yeah. And really receive them, but then also from a practical point of view of where they live. So that's something that we talked about with the Venus Project and Regen, about them building communities that you've got, supportive communities that can hold these star children. Yeah. And the parents, because the parents are the star children as well. Yeah. We're the kind of the first way showers, I guess. Yeah. And then we're holding the space for these other beings to come through. Yeah. So that's something that I thought was quite interesting to talk about this week.
The way I see it is, because here we're very near the Amazon and indigenous people that live, hidden in the rainforest, and they're invisible because they're so at one with the earth that they don't pollute, they don't take more than they need. There's a complete harmonious balance, and I see, in my vision of how things should be, is that we should be invisible as well. We should, the way Western society lives should be invisible. We shouldn't be putting out more pollution than we need. If anything, we should be invisible.
Just all living harmoniously.
Yeah.
And I've noticed as well with the children. I mean, I've not had any crying babies. Yeah. And everywhere we've gone, we've been seeing mums with their babies on their back.
Yeah.
I've not
sitting on the steps breastfeeding.
Yeah. I haven't seen one pram. Actually, if I have seen one pram, it's been from a Westerner. But the local people, nobody has prams. And talking to our guide, I thought it was interesting when she said, one night, I slept like a baby, and we kind of giggled and said, you've been awake all night crying then? Yeah. And she said, no, Peruvian babies don't do that. She said that, and I said to her, what's the secret? And she just said in the first couple of days, the mum gets up really early, she feeds the baby, and I guess it's kind of telling that baby straight away, all your needs will be met. And she just said, and they're all just so mellow and so chilled out. I guess as well, it's also part that they're being carried, so they're always being carried by somebody. Yeah. And it's part of that continuum thing, isn't it? Where you're constantly holding the baby. Yeah. So there's no need for them to be cried. Yeah. Trying to cry to be picked up or. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, mine didn't cry unless there was something really wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you, if they were about to, you kind of, it was like you're distracted by something else, and then they'll need to get your attention. But if that attention and that need is met, then they stop.
It's like when you wake up before they do at night time to breastfeed them, isn't it? You just get that, they're going to wake up and you're there.
Or they've made some sort of noise or, you know, shuffle, and you think, okay, just lie over and feed them. And then you wake up and, oh, that's done, you know. And that's how it should be, you know, because until, I don't know how old, if there's a scientific number of how old they are when they see themselves as separate from you. Probably is, I don't know, but you know, for at least 9 months, they're still part of you, aren't they? 9 in, 9 out, they call it, don't they? You know, because that's how they should be next to you.
So I mean, that's what I've noticed with, I mean, even though we're in a city here, and obviously there's a lot of Western influences, but you know, even just seeing the mums and their babies, that I just see they're in harmony. You know, there's a harmony there. So there's a lot of harmony with nature here, isn't there? In lots of different ways, and I think that's what we've forgotten in the West. And I think that's about trying to kind of rekindle that remembrance.
Because it's there, isn't it? I think if we kind of take away all of the commercial influences, which are there,
really what it is
which
about,
are there to sell you shit, then you get back to what's it about? It's about nurturing food and connection, isn't it?
Because if you think, you know, you don't need that £500 pram. You know, but everybody thinks that they do, and they buy into it.
But for me, that was the point with my business when I was like, since when was it okay to sell a pram for £1,000? And I just thought, this is not right. You know, people do not need that, but they've been sold this myth that the more stuff they have, the better the parent they're going to be, because they're prepared for parenting. They've got their nursery all done up. It's like, no,
and the
that is
brand.
That is not what the baby needs. Nothing like that at all. You know, so for me, coming out of this this week was about reignited that passion to talk about those things, because people have been, you know, sold this myth because other companies want to sell them shit, and it's just wrong.
And it's just making me think now something that Tracy said about fragmentation. So a lot around here is the you had the original Incas, and then the Spanish came and conquered, and it came up the other day about how were the Spanish able to conquer the Incans and then convert them to Catholicism, and we all kind of reflected on that, and then later on there was another conversation of, well, maybe they were so living in harmony from the heart that either, you know, maybe they could have been a peaceful people and didn't want to fight, or that they were living in the heart and they were living harmoniously with nature, and then you had an outside influence kind of putting mental constructs into your mind to make you start thinking, because one of the things that our guide said was that Catholicism was about status. So then it's almost like they started to convert them over by saying, you know, you can make a better life for yourself if you become a Catholic, and it puts you in a higher social status. And then I got the feeling that at some stage then the Incans became like the lower class, you know, the shamans and the, you know, the people who still lived with the traditional or the old rules were seen as a lower class population. So it's almost like, so what Tracy was saying was that, you know, that seed of doubt had been planted, which then causes fragmentation. And then I guess the way that we see it play out with mothers is, unless I get the bugaboo, I'm not going to be a good mum. Unless I get the this or the that. And it's the thought, the fragmentation that creates that kind of separation. Whereas if we come back into the heart and live in harmony, we know we don't need that shit. We just strap them to us, you know, in a blanket. And like you said, the first month, they should just be naked. You know, so they're constant skin to skin. You know, and but people don't talk about it from that point of view. But it makes sense, doesn't it?
But you know what I'm excited about is the fact that, you know, since having my daughter in 1997, the science is now backing up this way of doing things, but the information isn't getting out to the public. So I'm excited about the fact that the science is backing it up. But what I want to do is get that information out in a very you know, easy to understand way, because the information that's still being pumped out through magazines and through websites and whatever is the old model, because those things are backed up by the advertisers who are going to sell their stuff, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
So you know, which we know
is causing the fragmentation,
which we know from formula milk advertising, you know, and how that has completely not completely, but how that the impact that's had in developing countries and in our country as well, you know. So yeah, the science. Yeah, it's sad that we have to we have to refer to scientists, which tend to be, you know, male-dominated industries, to say, yeah, my mother's intuition to do this is endorsed by some scientific facts.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to me. Yeah. But a lot of people who live in their heads need to have that.
But it's interesting because I always remember thinking about the whole breastfeeding and the bottle feeding thing, and at what stage did it become okay? Because if you think of it, you know, what's happened with bottle feeding is it's almost like you cut off your arm and I sell it back to you.
Yeah.
It's just, I used to think, why are we buying into that?
Yeah.
Because it's literally like, I'll chop off your arm and I'll sell it back to you. It's just, you know.
Yeah.
You've got something in your body that
you chopped it off and you're given a robotic one, but you can't use it properly. Yeah. Because it's not got the, you know, functionality and.
Yeah, but then what I also understood as well, I don't know whether it was like the 50s or 60s when it kind of came in. It was a social status thing, wasn't it? It was like poor people. Yeah, poor people breastfed because they couldn't afford this, you know, this amazing formula food. Yeah. So again, it's interesting, isn't it? You can see that fragmentation comes from planting something in someone's mind, which I guess is what advertising does. Yeah. And then it creates that kind of concept of, oh, if I buy that, I'm going to be seen as affluent and sophisticated and blah, blah, blah. And it just creates that fragmentation. Whereas if we went back to the heart, we'd be like, that doesn't make any sense. Well, yeah, it's like, rather, you cut my boob off and selling it back to me, you know, in a very dysfunctional way. Yeah. And actually, I've got what I need. Yeah. But that only comes from the heart, doesn't it? That comes from that kind of, that you don't have to negotiate. It's a definite, I know what's right for me, I know what's right for my baby, I know what's right for the planet, how we live, the lifestyle choice, you know it deep inside, but then it's like when you get drawn up into the head. So I think what I see our job is now is for us, and we pretty much do live from the heart anyway, but making sure we're always in the heart, and then the impact the people around us is about bringing them into the heart and teaching people to come back into their hearts, because I think when we're all in our heart, then you kind of, you know, you're going to know what's right for you. That guidance is going to lead you. So maybe to begin with, there's the teaching, and then get people into their hearts, and then they kind of up and off doing what they need to do because they're following their own guidance. Yeah, I agree. I also think that because the mode that we have now, modality of how we get information is through, unfortunately, you know, the kind of superstars and or A-list celebrities and magazines and soaps and whatever, that you have to get in that way. But then if that's... Because the people that want to know about it, like the people like us, are going to find that information. Yeah. But then is there like is there an opportunity to get into those avenues? Or, because I hear a lot of like media stuff is controlled and they only kind of feed out to the mass populace the information they want to. So I wonder how that can be infiltrated. Well, I think it can be, from what I know of how it works. You know, so for example, when I had Jake and I had an independent midwife, and she gave me a leaflet on pelvic floor exercises or something. I know she was a heart-centered midwife, and she didn't see at the bottom that it was sponsored by a formula milk manufacturer. Now I said this to her, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't see that," you know. But that's how you do it, which is really sad. But that's how you do it. You know, you put out some public information that is useful. So I remember not being able to find information, not for me, but for other people, on how to bed share safely. And it was really frustrating because the advice from the NHS and the NICE guidelines are having the baby in your room with you for the first 6 months, but not to bed share. There's no information on bed sharing, so people would be doing it dangerously. So it's like safe sex, you know, with kids and who are underage, or you know, of your religious beliefs or whatever, saying, you know, it's against your religious beliefs, or you're underage, or you're a teenager, you shouldn't be doing that. That's crap. Tell them how to do it safely and not deny them the information, because then there's a whole heap of trouble that you're going to get into by doing that. So the same sort of thing with the babies. It's like, don't say don't sleep with your baby. Say this is how you do it safely. Give people information. Otherwise they're going to do it covertly in their room, in their bedrooms, and actually it could be dangerous. So it's stuff like that. Well,
so
I suppose they need to know what the dangers are. Because the dangers are about whether or not you've been kind of like taking medication or you've been drinking or they say smoking.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they are the main dangers, aren't they, really? And I think if that's not explained, then the mum is going to think about, well, what could those dangers be?
Exactly.
And they could be thinking of all these fears. And actually, if they realise, well, actually, I don't do those three things, so therefore I'm not at risk.
Or I'll stop the drinking, or whatever it is, which is probably not going to be doing anyway because you're pregnant. So,
exactly.
Smoking,
But for me, when I understood, well, actually, the risks are those things, which I'm not doing anyway, I'm not doing at the moment. So therefore, I feel much more confident about bed sharing because I know I'm not going to roll on them because I'm not under the influence of alcohol or medication or anything. And we both know this, you know. For me, it feels impossible to kind of roll on them anyway because your instincts, you know exactly where they are, even when you're kind of like sleeping. You're always in that half and half, and you can feel them, and you always lie in such a way that you naturally cocoon them. You know, but like we said before, you know, you can also set your bed up that you've got pillows, and you've almost got those barricades to kind of create that space. So there is guidance. Well, there's not guidance out there.
Official guidance.
There's information that we as mums share.
What we talked about with the whole activation is that we've had, the way I've seen it is we've been drip feeding. We've had kind of downloads of information from motherships. You know, like if you imagine tankers that kind of come and unload their loads, and then they go off again, and you have to get some more of it, and it kind of runs out. But now we've got direct connection to the pipeline. You know, direct connection to the source of that light information, and that is going to be awesome. Because it's like continuously flowing, and if you want to tap into that energy, you know.
Well, it'd be interesting to see like how our lives change in the next sort of 6 months, 12 months, because if there's more direct access coming through, and the information I got was that, you know, there's a lot more power coming through now within that information. So it'll be, I'm curious to see how things will unfold for all of us as a group and in the community, and the kind of things that we'll get involved in, which of course will have a knock-on effect.
Well, what was wonderful about, I mean, there was how many of us were there? There was 11 of us, was there? 11 of us that had actually come for the course, and it was so refreshing to be with a group of people where you didn't have to explain yourself and why your values. You know, everybody had the same kind of attitude towards fair trade or to organic. And when we got the lunch packs and they had the Nestle bars in them, everyone was like, don't want to eat that, you know, even though it was free and whatever, it was like,
even with bottled water, you're kind of like, we don't need to take it.
It's crazy. So, but in a good way, because there was no, you know, why is everybody, because often you could go to these, you do a group thing and there's a few people that don't have a clue about why not to eat Nestle, you know. And it was great that everybody was kind of on the same page. I was having conversations with people about GMOs, and it was just like so easy to be amongst people who are on the same wavelength and who were up for going out there and kicking some butt. You know, it was great.
Exactly. But I guess it was always going to be that way, though, wasn't it? Because we couldn't come and do this kind of work if on some level we weren't on the same page. Because, you know, that's the reality of birthing a new earth. We need to embody it, so then we can be it, and then everybody else can, you know, hopefully kind of see that way that we've created. And move away from that kind of, it's not about us fixing it or fixing other people, it's about us living it and then influencing, I guess, from doing what we're doing, and people to kind of get curious and think, you know, what are you doing, how can I do that, and how can I change things? So what else did we kind of, any other insights? I mean, there was so much that went on, really, but I mean, I think that the biggest for me, really, thinking about how the new birthing the new earth is going to unfold. I mean, you know, we all just had so many different experiences, didn't we? Very powerful experiences, and it all felt very magical. And I guess part of me is coming back into my practical, I want to say mind, you know, but it's kind of keep it here in your heart, but trying to be practical about what's this going to look like, you know, when we get home. What's this going to look like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week? And also, it's like we've been in this really beautiful bubble of energy of like-minded people, in a beautiful place, in a retreat in the sacred valley of Peru, and then it's taking that energy. It's easy when we're together, and then when you step outside and go back into normal life, then it's about keeping our vibration high, that we can kind of be that light, rather than then getting caught back in to the rubbish again. So I guess that's what I'm trying to kind of like understand, how that will unfold, what will that look and feel like. Yeah.
Well, I think we're quite lucky in that we've got each other to bounce off of, and I think this now it's a question of kind of nurturing those relationships and friendships that we built up in the last week.
Which we do anyway, don't we? So I suppose now it's just a bigger family that we need to nurture.
Yeah, I suppose. I'm aware of. I just get on and do stuff, and forget to sort of share what we've been doing. And like, for example, we haven't done one of these for months because we've kind of just been busy doing it, getting on with it. Yeah. But it is kind of important to put that information out there, I think, because you don't know how it's going to just spark a bit of interest in somebody that thinks, oh, hang on a minute, that's interesting. Yeah. So we need to do that somehow, and and just now that we've got kind of worldwide connection because of the people came from.
I think it's fascinating as well how, as we've kind of separated, Stella staying in Peru, and then Maita's then travelling to kind of like Southeast Asia and Australia and all around that part of the world. I'm off to Canada. Yeah. We've got people in the UK, and we've just got people that are just spreading out. It feels like we're taking these little bits of light all in different directions.
Yeah, and then of course you've got the other people who are doing the same things with other light workers and other grid workers who are which is if we all kind of were aware of one another and connected. I mean, we're both good at networking and connecting with other people, but actually the reality is that this stuff is happening,
Yeah, and I guess as well just the Life Out Prayer community back at home. Yeah. Because we've all felt very much that they've been with us, and so they're scattered all over the world as well. So it's like this neural kind of network of light that's been that we've created, that's kind of gone out to almost like all the people in the community as well. Yeah. And then I guess it's about the pipes all lined up again as well, isn't it? All been lined up, all in place, turn the tap on, it's just filtered out. Yeah. Through kind of osmosis, really, and one of the things that we've always talked about is skin to skin, getting kids and partners kind of upgraded. That's it. So when we go home, we look skin to skin.
Yeah. Also, the grounding sheets. I remember having a conversation with Seb because I think the grounding sheets are, or the grounding kind of stuff that you can buy is kind of marketed at the health benefits of it, and better sleep and all the rest of it, and in grounding your energy into the earth. But I remember having a conversation with him, and it's not something that, it was a kind of a one-to-one conversation, and it was about actually in the grounding process is also about receiving information from the earth and putting your information into the earth and into the cosmos, and that coming back as well. So that again, it's that kind of helping that umbilical connection. And what's fascinating, wasn't it, we went to the planetarium here, and on the wall it had a picture and referred to humans as umbilical cords from the cosmos to Pachamama, and actually, umbilical cords have a flow of up and down. It's not just the one way. We're not just taking the information here; we're sending it back out, and that's how we can kind of be assessed in a way as to what's going on.
Yeah, and I guess as well, most of us now have got the grounding technology, and we've not had that. So I suppose in the daytime we've been on the ground, but at night time we've not been sleeping grounded. Yeah. So I guess when we go back home, we'll be plugging into the grounded bedding that we've got. And I know when I go travelling, I've ordered another North American kit from Seb. So we can carry on that grounding experience, because that I can see that now. That makes sense, doesn't it? That when we're plugged in, it's like when Tracy talked about the trees, when you kind of talk to each other.
Well, exactly, because we're grounding into the metamorphic fields, aren't we? By actually, it's enhancing that connection, isn't it? It's kind of clarifying the frequency so that our information is going into the metamorphic field and then spreading. So
I suppose, can we really have the full impact till we kind of like go back to our places where we're set up to be plugged in? And it'll be interesting to see in the next week when we all go back to our kind of grounded beds, and we're plugged in, and we're releasing this information at night time. And kind of going into the metamorphic field.
Well, it's all exciting stuff. It's so kind of cutting edge and interesting, isn't it? And I remember for the new people who hadn't been there, it's quite a kind of what was the word, kind of baptism of fire in a way, wasn't
Yeah.
it, for them? Because they'd never, I mean, they just kind of, they trusted that this was, that Wilkatika was the place, Tracy Holloway was the person that they needed to.
Well, Lara thought she was turning up and going hiking. You know, so she really trusted.
Yeah. So, you know, so we've been doing this for such a long time that it wasn't like a, you know,
Yeah.
wow moment for us, but for
Yeah.
them it was like, you know, sort of seeing it through their eyes, you just think, actually, and they got it, you know, straight away,
They dealt with
didn't
it
they?
really well. And I thought what was interesting as well, because we started talking about the language, because I guess...
Light language is kind of a bit weird when you first hear it as well.
Yeah, but I was, even before the light language, I was thinking about just the language that we use, and like some of us were saying like, oh, this is a bit, you know, we were using the words like crazy and a bit kind of out there and all that stuff, and then we realised, you know what, we have to stop saying this, because this isn't the crazy stuff, this is cutting edge.
Yeah.
And I think unless we reframe it,
Yeah.
it will be received, reframed,
Yeah.
and we'll still be kept in that kind of paradigm of, well, that's a little bit crazy over there.
Yeah.
But actually, we have to realise that what we're doing is cutting edge stuff.
Yeah.
So we all realise that we
Yeah.
need to reframe
Yeah.
our vocabulary.
Well, because one of the things that, you know, is we did quite a few things that kind of really made me understand the difference between the earthly plant medicines and people doing ayahuasca and all those kinds of things that, you know, even the spiritual community would talk about as awakenings and whatever, you know, and getting to see the reality of our existence, but that's still in the old earth matrix, you know, and the new grid that is light,
crystalline matrix,
is not that, you know.
Yeah.
And the star kids that are coming with crystalline bodies, you know, the crystalline DNA, and actually, you know, there's kind of layers of people, isn't there? And some of those communities actually might be more difficult to shove, because they think that they're doing ayahuasca and they're doing all this kind of spiritual stuff and meditating and whatever, but actually, you know, that's all quite me in a way, actually.
Yeah.
And what we're talking about is the whole of humanity and being of service to others over service to self, which I suppose the planty stuff feels like it's still self. I've got to sort my stuff out and myself out, whereas we're like, no,
put that to one side.
Yeah, get yourself out of the way in order to be of service to the greater humanity. And
but I guess as well, you have to be at a certain place to be ready to put your stuff to one side. Do you think? Because I think it takes a lot of, because I think, you know, we can still see people just stuck in dramas, and I think you need to kind of get to a place where you think, it's not about me, just put that to one side, and it's a conscious choice that you make, isn't it? You can either dip into the drama and analyse it and root around in it, or you can just go, it's crap, I don't need to root around in it, just push it to one side and let this come through.
Yeah, which is what the techniques of the broadcasts help you to do, don't
exactly.
they? Yeah. Because there is a lot of you know, the kind of the techniques of the old school, where dig around, find out what it was that caused
Analysis.
that emotion, analysis, and just tedious stuff. Whereas we're like, just delete that. That program doesn't work for me. Don't need to know why it doesn't work for me. Just
I guess some of
delete
the questions came up, wasn't it, on last week about what was happening. It's like, it doesn't really matter what's happening. You know, you feel energy shifting, and like that one time when I felt really sick, it's like, it's just shifting through. I don't know what it is. I don't need to know what it is. It's just going. It's gone.
Yeah.
Whereas in the past, I suppose you could root around in it and analyse it and think about it and then digest it, and you just keep going, regurgitating it really. Yeah. Whereas now you can just, it doesn't matter what it is.
Well, I hope that, you know, now people will because there has been comfort in people have found comfort in being able to regurgitate their stories and be stuck in their stories and get, you know, people to there, you know, what a poor thing you are because of that thing that happened to you. But you know, I've never wallowed in that way. So, but a lot of people, that's when they get heard, because they're wallowing in their story, aren't they? So it's like, upgrade that, because if you're wallowing in your shit, you can't be of service and you can't help with creating this new earth, can you? Yeah. So let's hope that is one thing that people get enlightenment on and leave behind.
And also we talked about the service to self, and it felt like there was almost like 3 aspects to it. Because there's the putting your oxygen mask on first, service to self, but that almost feels like self-care, and just making sure that you are kind of looking after yourself. And even the looking after yourself is not getting involved in other people's dramas. You know, because, or trying to overly help. You don't need to do that. You know, is other people's, you know, it's none of your business kind of thing, isn't it? And so there's that aspect to self, and then there's the selfishness, the self-serving kind of, which kind of keeps getting regurgitated and repeated, and then there's the service to others. So it feels like it's just about, you don't need that regurgitating stuff. You need the kind of
self-care, of course.
The self-care.
Yeah, you can't be used to anyone if you're not
yeah,
used to.
but it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think a lot of people get hung up on that. They get confused on the... they want to look after themselves, but they see it as selfish. And it's separating that. It's like, no, that's not selfish. This is you need to look after yourself and do the oxygen mask first. But, you know, and it's just having that awareness and understanding of that can be separated. Because what I've observed, and I've done it myself in the past, you feel that I can't do that, I can't put myself first because it's selfish. And actually, if it's self-care, you need to, it's important.
It's a very martyr, like, and actually quite a lot of mums have done, you know, do that. It's like, I've got to martyr myself to my children and be this crazy, you know, mum that is doing everything for my kids. And then things just, and actually what tends to happen is there's a lot of resentment because the kids are constantly like helicoptered, you know? And it's not, it doesn't give them the freedom to just come and be who they're come to be.
And also as well, just, you know, the mums then fall down, and if you think, you know, the mums are like the centre of the family, you know, if mum's happy, everyone's happy, if mum's not happy, then it affects everybody.
But then also, the other thing that we were talking about, what happens is that you manifest some illness in order to get the attention that you need. Or you transfer that illness onto your children because you then get the attention. You know, if your kid gets sick constantly and you're going to the doctors and you're being heard, isn't that interesting? You know, how that manifests.
And I'm thinking as well about that film with Wayne Dwyer, The Shift, and there was an aspect in that where the mum was going through her shift and the kids were off playing, and he said, you know, and she was screaming at them, come and eat, you know, we've all been there, you know, come on, you need to eat, it's dinner time, and they say, I'm not hungry, and he said, you know, this is an opportunity to practice or giving them power to let them be, and they'll come when they're hungry. So it's almost like, again, you're opening up that, you're receiving them in their fullness, and you're not forcing them to eat because you've got an hour for lunch. You're actually saying, okay, we're here, the food's here, come when you're ready. And what was interesting to observe in that film, and I've done it as well, is that you think that everyone's looking at you because your kids are off and they're screaming and playing or whatever, and that if you're not on top of them and managing them, you're seen as a bad mum. You know, and actually what Wayne Dwyer was saying was just let them play, let them eat when they want to eat, and just give them that freedom. You know, but I don't feel like where I've brought my children up, there's that sense of freedom. I mean, I've taken them out to the woods nearby, and you would expect the woods, they can just run free and be a bit feral running around. You know, and I've taken them to the cafes there, and they'd be kind of, you know, playing, and there's all toys set up for them to play. And I remember they'd be like this, you know, this elderly couple that you kind of thought they'd be grandparents and getting really happy about it. And you just think, you know, if they can't play out in nature and be themselves, you know, and so it's interesting as a parent because you have that moment of just letting go and trusting and just let them be, and then you have this outside influence. So then you feel the need to be on top of them again, sit down, be quiet, eat your food, and it's just, there's no space, is there, to receive them. You can receive them at home, but then when you take them out to the wider population, there's not that wider space to receive them.
Well, not now, because everybody's not on that wavelength, you know, but that's what we have to create. It's almost like, no, and I've kind of thought this before, it's like we've had like 100-year blip where we've lost that sense of connection and community, and
somebody else has
looking
got
after
100
one
years
another.
as well.
And it's like, it's really, and it's now we need to, it's kind of going back to how things should be, but with the best of the science and technology and what we know of what works, you know, to regain the control over our sovereignty, as it were, you know, and without corporations or whoever it is telling us how to do things.
And then why the things like regen are really important to create those communities that children can be received by the community, because that's what I think I've struggled with. You can receive them at home, but the community can't receive them, and I think that's quite damaging to them. And because I think, you know, is the community raises children. You know. And so that's what I'm looking for next, is that community that can receive my children.
Yeah, definitely. You know, and it takes all ages and all kind of, you know, people to do that. And this week was a fantastic example of that, wasn't there? Because we had a 3.5-year-old with us, and everybody was there for him, you know, and there was no issues, no dramas, and that's how it should be, you know, all different ages together, just getting on, you know? No kind of, you know, silos of old people in homes, students in student blocks, you know, families here and single people here. It's like, no.
And that kind of children should be seen and not heard mentality, that needs to kind of like just go completely from the planet, doesn't it?
So that's what we're up for.
Exactly.
On that note, maybe we should probably call it a wrap.
Call it a wrap.